Back in the late 80s, there was a phenomenon about to launch in the UK, and no, I'm not talking about shell suits. I'm talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. However, in the UK, the ninja was replaced to hero because, you know, reasons. Konami released one of the greatest arcade games ever into the arcade in 1989. The 4-player, simultaneous player side-scrolling beat-em-up, this unit still remains one of the best arcade games out there. Indeed, a company called Arcade 1-Up has recently created a half-size replica so you can play this game in your own home. But in the 1990s, if you weren't at the arcade and you wanted to play this game at home, you could do it this way. In this episode, we are focusing on the NES release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. This game was given the sequel moniker because the NES already had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game and it was released a year before. It's still a platform classic that still remains one of the hardest games to complete. In fact, this screenshot will give gamers nightmares, and this was only level 2, remember. So in 1990, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 hit the shops, and anyone that played the arcade original couldn't wait to pay the stupid amount that Nintendo used to charge at the time for cartridges, stick it into their Nintendo Entertainment System and load up, and this is what they were greeted with. The title screen, as you can see, is very basic, but it does the job. Select between 1 or 2 players. Fortunately, there's no 4-player multi-tap fun here, I'm afraid, and after picking one of the 4 turtles, it's straight into the action. Some of the cutscenes are here and they are faithful to the arcade original, but as you would expect, there's no speech and there is a little bit of flickering in the graphics, but they are still a fine representation of the original given the 8-bit capabilities of the Nintendo Entertainment System. The game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up in the vein of Double Dragon or the Renegade series that were around about this time. There are 2 buttons, jump and attack, and pressing them both together will do a special move. However, I do find that pressing the jump slightly before the attack gives a better result. There's no difference in the turtles in this game, but however, I always prefer using Donatello because of his long weapon, who misses. The game itself is split through 10 levels and they vary from inside a burning building in level 1 to rescue April O'Neil, to a street level in level 2 to rescue April again, to the sewer level and eventually to the Technodrome itself. Every level is littered with foot soldiers. They are all coloured slightly differently and have different attacks, and each level has varying degrees of new baddies to face. But basically all of them are defeated by thrashing the buttons and eventually they blow up and it's on to the next section. Every level has an ender level boss and are all from the Turtles canon. However, 2 of the bosses, Tora and Shogun, were created especially for this game. As you would expect, the ender level bosses are harder to kill, but still, all it takes is some smashing with the weapons to eventually do them in. They eventually start flashing orange and this knows you're on the right track, and then they flash quicker orange and again, like everything else, they blow up when they're dead. This game, like its predecessor, is notoriously difficult to complete. With only 2 lives and 3 continues, you will need to be at your best to finish it. However, there is things like Game Genies and action replays that will help you along the way. You will notice in the levels there's a lot of product placement for a particular pizza shop. In the original hard copy of the game, there was a coupon for a free pizza at the aforementioned chain, so that explains everything there. The game has the usual mix of beat 'em up mainstays. You've got street levels, underground levels, riding on bits of transport, and there's even a lift section, and surprise baddies and new ways to kill you. Given this game was released in 1990 and given the hardware limitations, this game is a faithful representation of the original arcade game and a fine piece to have in any collection. In fact, playing it again throughout some 30 years after its release, I still enjoyed it as much as I did way back in the 1990s. As with most games around this time frame, there were other home versions released. There was some released for the ZX Spectrum, the Amiga, the Amstrad CPC range of computers, the Atari ST and the Commodore 64, and I may cover some of these in future episodes. But for now I'm going to leave you with a snippet for the end credits because, you know, given how hard it is, this could be the only time you ever see them. Make sure you like and subscribe this video and I'll see you next time on Noob Game Reviews.